everyone, welcome to Web Services Testing, and today we'll mainly talk about SOAP UI assertions. Okay, so let me first open SOAP UI tool. Okay, and let me go to yesterday's project, that is stock code, and if I open this, okay, so we have seen how we can send a request, okay, through SOAP UI, and how we can get the response. So after getting response, if we just getting a response and you are not validating, then there is no use, okay, because we don't know what kind of response we are getting, that is correct or not. So we have to validate. So let me run this, execute this, and why there is exception. So sometimes what happens, team, your uh, server may be down, okay, so you may get error. So currently we are getting, we got, okay, that's good. So see, we got the price, FB stock price. So after getting the response, our main responsibility is to validate, assert that response, if it is correct or not. So how we can do, yesterday we have talked, we can go to click on assertion, and if you click this green plus sign, okay, so there are various assertions are there, okay. So let me start with contents, okay. So content says searches for the existence of a string token in the property value, supports regular expression applicable to any property. So if you want to verify some property, some value, you can put here, okay. So let me uh, click there, and this you can see one dialog box is opened, okay. So suppose I want to verify that whatever the response I'm getting, okay, is there get quote result tag is there or not, okay. I want to verify that exact thing, okay. You can there are two check boxes, ignore case and regular expression, okay. So you can check this, otherwise you can leave it blank as per your requirement. So when I'll choose this ignore case, it means it will match uh, uh, this one, and it will match if everything is in small, okay, get quote result. This will also it match, it will match this one also, get quote result, okay. So if I'll check this ignore case, it doesn't care your tag name or node name is in small or is in capital, okay. So I want to verify this get quote result node is there, not in my response, okay. And if I click OK, so here you see that is showing green. So what does it mean is that is valid, it means in our response it is there. So suppose uh, so it always, so one point to remember team, your assertions validation always happened on your response, not on your request, because we have to verify whatever we are getting from the server. We know what we are sending, but we don't know what we are getting from the server. So that we need to assert. Okay, so in many interviews also they can ask this question where we put assertions. So the correct answer is response, because we have to verify response, right? We have to validate that. So suppose if here I say test, okay, so it is not there in my response, I know. Okay, so if I add this assertion, it will be failed, and if I run here, it will be failed because it doesn't match with response. There is nothing related to, there is no uh, test tag name, there is no test uh, string, so that's why it is showing failed. Whenever it will be failed, it will show you a red circle mark. Okay, you can see there. So let me put the right node name. Okay, and you can see now it is a green mark, so it means it is valid. Okay, so through contents you can check a string, any property value, or whatever the what was the stock price team. Stock price was 126, I guess. Okay, so yes, it is valid. It means 126 is there. Okay, even if you can add exact points, but this is stock price will not be always same, so uh, you have to validate each time from your database. So before moving to let me ask you team, what do you think, from where we are getting this response? We are getting from server. Okay, that is one point. um, but suppose we are getting this response from NASDAQ server. Okay, so NASDAQ will have one database where they store daily means whatever the stock price is there on daily basis after trading, so it will be stored in that database. So we are fetching directly from the database. Okay, all these response are coming directly from the database. uh, as I said, there is no UI, so you are requesting and you are getting a response, so it directly send the request to the server, and server pick the value from the database and send back to you. Okay, so it means we are validating. So if you have to validate, like if the current stock price of this Facebook is $126.64, I need to connect with the database. Okay, write few query, simple select query like select star from this and stock price of FB or Facebook, and I should receive this 126.64. So I hope this is clear how we validate practically in practical life or practical scenario, how we validate this. So we are getting from the uh, database, and same thing we need to, if you have to verify, you have to connect with a DB at your end, and you have to write query, you have to validate this, like whatever we are getting through this web service and whatever in the database, both are same. So same thing you can validate with this also, because you know what will be the stock price. Okay, so this is contents assertion team. In a similar way, if you go, there is not contents. Okay, so searches for non-existence of a string token in the property value, supports regular expression applicable to any property. Okay, all right. So suppose I don't want something to be there in my response. Okay, so suppose something related to password. There should be no tag name or a property value of like this. Okay, and if I click OK, so my response doesn't contain this. Okay, password, or there should be no user name kind of thing. If I don't want to display these things, so I need to assert that in my response there is nothing related to security. Okay, like there is no sensitive data in my response, because it's a public API and it should not reveal any password or username to the outside world. So those things I can put here. Team, can you see my screen? Someone is saying, Sagar is saying he cannot see screen. So Sagar, I think there is a problem at your end, because other people can see my screen. So just try to log off and join again. Okay, all right. So this is how we include contents and non-contents assertions. So any question, team, on this two assertions? Okay, so see what it means. It suppose I want to I uh, I want that my response should not contain any property name, okay, or property value which is related to username or password. Okay, so that I can mention here. So what happens, sometimes you need to verify that whatever the response you are getting, there is no sensitive data like username or password. And if I want to verify that, like in my response, there should be no node of password. Okay, because it's very critical to validate and your response, and there should be no sensitive data, as I said. Okay, so I hope Vinita, this is clear. Why in not contents you can put anything that should not be there in your response. Okay, so whatever you think that should not be there in your response, you can put here and you can validate. Another question is why we are testing assertions. We are not testing assertion. We are putting some validation point on my response, whatever I have received from the server, so that I can be assured that whatever the response I got from the server, that is correct. Okay, because if you are not validating, you're not asserting your response, it means that is useless. You are just getting a response and you're not validating anything. So this, we are not testing assertions, we are validating our response. Okay, like in your test case, how you write manual test case, team, you say test case log into this application, and test step will be open browser, navigate to this URL, enter username, password, click login. If you do not put anything in expected result, do you think that test case will do justice? After clicking login, where it goes, I don't know, right? So is it opening home page? Is it able to log in or not? How you will verify? So something you have to put right in expected results. Same thing we are doing here in through assertions. Okay, so I hope you got the point why we need to validate our response through assertion. So assertions are similar to checkpoints, correct? It is similar. We are just checking our response. Is that assertions for whole response body? Correct. It is for the whole response body, whatever the response we got. Okay, let's move. And before moving to two most important part of this assertions, those will come later. But let's go to put other. So you can see here different kind of assertions you can add. Okay, property content, compliance status and standards, script, SLA, JMS, security. So we have seen in property content how we can validate. Let's go to compliance status and standards. And first one is invalid HTTP status codes. So it says checks that target test step received an HTTP result with a status code not in the list of defined codes. Okay, so if you think there should be no like this 1 2 3 code. Okay, so it means I can validate some invalid HTTP codes. So suppose if I put any valid, because 200 is valid HTTP code, whatever we are getting currently, and if I put okay, so it will be failed because this is not invalid response code. If you go here, okay, here you can see we are getting 200 okay. It means everything is fine. Our request is successful. So in invalid HTTP code, if you put any valid code like 200, 500, 404, 400, it means it will be failed because this is not invalid status code. So if you put something invalid, then because we never know what kind of response we'll get from the server, so we need to verify, right? So these are very simple kind of assertions we can apply. Okay, so there is one question, let me take this. So when we are adding an assertion, can we add multiple scenarios in the one scenario assertion? It depends on you. Okay, so it depends on you how you want to verify. So it will be always good that uh, add a different scenario in different assertions. Okay, so that it will be clear that what I am verifying in which assertion. So my preferences is I do always in a separate assertion. Okay, I do not mix, but it's up to you. You can uh, experiment with this. All right, so let's move to another is not so fault. Okay, validates that last received message is not a SOAP fault applicable to SOAP test steps. Okay, so if I add, so if there is no SOAP protocol fault, it will be valid. If there will be any SOAP protocol fault, Means if something error is there in a SOAP protocol, whatever we are getting response, then this will be red mark. Okay. Next is schema compliance, SOAP fault. So various things are there, team. You can say like a valid, important one is valid status code. Okay. So I want to validate that I am getting this 200 status code. Okay. So that will be passed, right? Because if I run this, contains failed. So this time I think this okay, we are getting some exception. That's why it was failed and other are passed. So valid HTTP code means whatever the valid status codes are there, I can put here. Okay. Another let's see what. So in if I go to compliance and so these 3-4 things are important. You need to always check like invalid status code, not SOAP fault, and uh, valid HTTP status codes. Okay, these things. So these a few important things you should always put in your test steps to validate the response. Let me go to script. We'll see uh, how we can do this assertions kind of thing through scripting. So we'll see in coming sessions, not today. In SLA, there is one more thing, SLA. So SLA, it says that validates that the last received response time was within the defined limit. Okay, so there is service level agreement that whatever uh, response I should receive, that should be within the some time limit. Means uh, this limit should be 400 milliseconds or 500 milliseconds, and if it giving me response in 1000 milliseconds, then uh, this is means something you need to tune so that I can get in 400 milliseconds. So if you have to because this is very important part, and you have to verify this response time. Okay, so suppose I'll put 500 milliseconds. Okay, and let me run again. So currently we are getting in 887 milliseconds. So that means uh, it is there is some delay in response. Okay, but if you put something 1000 milliseconds, okay, and if you run again, everything is passed, right? Why? Because response is under the 1000 milliseconds. That's why it is passed. Else we could have received like this has failed, red mark here. So these are few important uh, assertions you need to always put on every request. Okay, any question, team, before moving to next assertion? Okay, all right, so I don't see any question. So let's move to next very important assertion, and that is XPath. Okay, so for XPath, let's take another project. Let me create. I'll go to this the same web service net, .NET, and this time I'll take this Medicare supplier. Okay, this is also a web service which tells you about the supplier's name of any city. Okay, so let me create project and Medicare supplier. Okay, and let me this one I can delete. Okay, so uh, let me generate the test suite. Okay, and I want to generate for all. Okay, so it has three methods team: get supplier by city, get supplier by supply type, and get supplier by zip code. Okay, so names I will give as a by default whatever I'm getting. Okay, and get supplier by city. Let me open this. All right, so this is how my request looks like for get supplier by city. And if I put here New York, and if I send a request, I should receive response, and here is my response team. Okay, a lot of data is there. Okay, so if you see there is tag name supplier data list. Okay, inside there supplier datas, then supplier data, and ev every tag under this supplier datas we have supplier data tag which contains the details about supplier like supplier number, company name, address 1, address 2, city, zip, and zip plus telephone description. Everything is there. So it means this way we have various suppliers. Okay, a lot of suppliers are there. So similarly you can put all those assertions whatever we talked previously. Okay, like contains, not contains, valid HTTP codes, invalid HTTP codes, SLA. Apart from that, uh, there is very interesting and important thing is XPath assertion. Okay, so XPath match. So here it says uses an XPath assertion to select content from the target property. Okay, and compares the result to an expected value applicable to any property containing XML. Okay, so if you have some experience with XPath, if some people from this JPAC they might have attended Selenium course, so there you might have encountered with this XPath. So XPath is nothing but let me explain you how you traverse to any particular location. So suppose I want to get this supplier name. Okay, so either I can write a relative XPath or I can write absolute XPath. So absolute XPath means I have to start from the beginning and then traverse till here. Okay, relative XPath means if I know any node, nearby node, okay, from there I can traverse. If I know supplier data list datas, then I can traverse to any supplier data. Okay, so this is how XPath works in XML format. Okay, so let's go and see how we can create one XPath assertion. So to use this, you have to first declare namespace. Okay, so here it says specify XPath expression and expected result. Declare namespace with the declare namespace prefix. Okay, so what you have to do, you have to click clear, declare here. So if you click, it will generate namespace for you. Okay, so mainly we have to focus on this namespace. So namespace is equal to ns1. Okay, now how, so let me okay, do like this so that we can see response. Okay, I hope it is visual to you everyone. So now I have to put double forward slashes. It means this is a relative XPath. So I hope you understand this term relative XPath, because I know nearby my target is supplier number or company name, that is Kmart Corp. Okay, and I know a nearby tag or nearby element. So from there I can traverse to that. Just like uh, any, you know, the landmark in any city. Okay, you directly go there, and from there someone says take left, and it is just 100 meter that particular store is there or something. So this is a relative path, because you don't have to worry about how I should go there, because you know the landmark, and from landmark you can go there. Okay, so this is relative XPath. So here I need to mention ns1, my name is space, and then let me mention supplier data list. Okay, and then ns1 and supplier datas. Okay, so in supplier data team you can see there are uh, there are various uh, suppliers, right? So in supplier data I need to mention which supplier data I want. So your first tag will be 1, your second tag will be 2, number we need to provide. Okay, so let me write here ns1, and then I need to put supplier data 1. Okay, so this way in square bracket you have to put 1 2 3 like this, and then which information you want. So suppose you want uh, supplier number, right? Okay, so if I click here, select from current, so if you can see I got this number, the first supplier number. Okay, so this is how you can uh, write your XPath to uh, get the particular thing. Okay, so this was the supplier number. Suppose I want company name. Okay, and if I click here, select from current, so it's Kmart Corp. Okay, if I save and if I run it again, the text paths should be passed because it will contain that Kmart Corp. Okay, in the similar way, see how differently we can write XPath team. So I'll just, okay, so you can, whatever name you can give, you can provide that name. So I'm trying to explain you different way to write XPath here. Okay, again click declare double forward slash ns1. This time I'll not traverse from supplier data list. I'll start with supplier data. Okay, because this is the nearby tag, right? So as I said in XPath, if you know any nearby element or tag, you can traverse from there. And then supplier data 1, and let me select from current. So what I can get team here, I got the first supplier, all the datas, okay, all the data I got from the supplier if you do this way. But if you want to get any particular property value, so suppose supplier number you want, right? So if I just want supplier number, I can use that. Can I remove this one as well, supplier datas, and just supplier data 1 and supplier number can I get? Yes, of course I can. Okay, even suppose fifth supplier data number I want. Okay, so I can get from the fifth supplier data. So in this way I can write various uh, XPath to validate based on your requirement. Okay, any question team? Okay, I don't see any question right now, so let's continue. Okay, so suppose let me save this and take another XPath. Okay, and this time I would say count. Okay, let me declare its namespace, and in XPath theme you can if you want to count that particular tag, how many times it appears, that way you can get the count of suppliers. Suppose in this case I want to count number of suppliers because this is huge list team, and if I want to count number of suppliers in this, so either I can go manually, that is a tough job, right? So XPath can solve your problem. And suppose you know in your database there is a 50 suppliers only. When you write query and you see there's only 50 suppliers. So how you can verify your response that there are only 50 suppliers are coming in my response? Okay, so I can write count and then uh, supplier data. Okay, let me try this if it works. Okay, I want to count this tag name. So this says invalid. Okay, because I put ns, n I put, so you have to put ns, and then the number we got team, that is 536. So 536 suppliers are there here in my response. Okay, so this is how you count. If you want to count any property that repeats itself, so you can count that number. All right, so I hope there is no question. If you have any question, let me know team before we move to further. Okay, all right, so uh, if you go to property content, there one thing you can see is xQuery match. Okay, so xQuery in itself is a big topic. Okay, and it says uses an xQuery expressions to select content from the target property and compares the result to an expected value applicable to any property containing XML. Okay, so let me add one X query here. All right, so team, in the similar way we can declare namespace for this. Okay, so in X query you can also click here declare. Okay, and you can get the namespace. Now we have to write few uh, XML tags here, team, to get the result in XML format. Okay, so how we can do that? Let's write. So if I say result, and just for your information, this is not related anything to your response. These are customized. You are writing from your end. Okay, so I want to display uh, that result in this format. Okay, and then again suppose I want company names, all the company names in this response. Okay, so I can put company. Okay, so these are some tags what we are creating, team. Okay, so you have to close this tag. So whatever tags you create in XML, you need to close that. Now you have to put a curly bracket. Okay, and then you need to put data, and then inside this data you have to put your XPath. Okay, so using this double forward slash for relative XPath. Okay, I want supplier datas. Okay, and in supplier datas, then okay, let me check if it what it returns. Okay, so if I click here, so what I get, team, see here, I'm getting the tag result whatever I gave company, and all the company names you are getting here, Kmart, Coop, and everything, every information whatever that has your response, we are getting all and everything. Okay, so based on your means what kind of is information you require, you can write XPath. Suppose you want some specific company name. Okay, so suppose I say from first supplier, tell me uh, company name. Okay, so what is tag? It's company name, right? And if I click here select from current, I will get that the desired result. Okay, our desired result is it should display Kmart Coop. Okay, so this is the syntax, team, for X query. Okay, in the which format you want to display your data, and then in curly brackets data, then parenthesis, and then your XPath. So this is how you write X query. Alright, let me save this and let me see if you have any question. So what does X query means? This is a question. This is a homework for you, team. Okay. So please go and read more about XPath and X queries. What does the company means? If you're not focusing what I say, so then you'll get this kind of queries. See, what I said is, this is just for my information, just for how I want to display my data. Suppose is in place of company, I say test tag. Okay, so this the way I want to get my results. So if I say select from current, so I want to display in this format, real test. Under test I want to display company name. Okay, so it's up to you how you want to display data using XQuery. So you can create your own tag name, as earlier I said. So you can give any name here. It is not related to uh, your response. This is how you are writing XQuery, and we are giving some R tag name, okay, to display uh, results from the uh, response. Okay, so I hope till now it is clear till here, team. Okay, let me see. All right, so there is another way in XQuery. I can write one for loop. Okay, so let me again go, and why this it is failed. XQuery match assistant failed for path. Okay. Mm, why it is failing? Okay, let me do one thing. Can I do this thing? So there is in XPath team who knows XPath, there is a method called text, and you can verify your XPath format using this test. Okay, so in some cases you will get the result. Okay, but your XPath might be not be in the correct way. Now it's correct. Okay, so if your XPath will be correct, then you will get this kind of success message. Now if I save this time it will be passed. Okay, all right. Now I want to use a for loop in this X query, and let's see how we can use that for loop. Okay, so in a similar way, declare namespace first. Okay, and we have to write uh, our tags. Okay, and we have to close. So first is opening tag and the second one is closing tag. Okay, so you have to always do this, otherwise you'll get error. Now inside this I have to put curly brackets. Okay, if I want to use this for loop. Okay, then for it says dollar x or dollar I, anything you can give, right? So let's give dollar x, it will be more visible. And then I need to provide x path. Okay, so I can say ns1 and supplier data. Okay, and then we have to write what we want to uh, get from this, whatever we are writing for loop. So you have to write return. These are few techniques, team, you can use. Okay, so I want to get the supplier. Okay, and then I have to close this tag, supplier tag. All right, and inside this tag we have seen how we use in xQuery, right? So curly brackets, data, and then parenthesis, and then you have to uh, mention dollar $x. Okay, and then you need to provide your x path. And suppose I want supplier number, I'll just finish this and then I'll take questions, team. Okay, let me click this select from current, and here we can see we got all the supplier numbers from the list, from the response. So this is the, see how it is useful. This xQuery is how it is useful if you have to verify very big number of data. Okay, so I can apply for loop as well on this and I can get the desired result. Okay, so I can write here in XPath, I can write anything, like if I want supplier number and then I need a company name as well, so that I can also write that way. Okay, or if you want to so let me do this first. So to do this I need to do one after this parenthesis, team, you need to again put one what we can do is again we need to put one curly brackets. Okay, let me delete this, and then in the similar way I need to put data. Okay, and parenthesis, then dollar $x. Okay, and we have already this in ns1. Okay, ns1 supplier data. Inside that we use this uh, supplier number, and then let me try to write uh, should I use single quote? Let me see. Company name. Okay, okay, let me select from current. So it says invalid. Okay, where is the issue? Okay, ns1 I don't see any. Team, can you observe anything? Let me know. So we say return supplier data, and then let me remove these things and try again. It says invalid query expression. Okay, supplier number. Hmm, hmm. NS1 company name. Anybody team can tell me where is the issue? I think issue is here. We have to close curly brackets here. Okay, not here. So these two are separate uh, things. Okay, we should separate it out. And let me check. Yes. Now if you see in the which format I am getting uh, data. Okay, first I'm getting a supplier number and then company name. So you can play around this X query. You can get in a different way uh, how you want your data. Okay, in the similar way, currently you can see it may or may not be in order. So there is also I can do that. Okay, so to do that in X query you have to mention order by after this for a statement, and then by which. So I need to mention this by supplier number. Okay, and I need to put this $X, and now see if I click select from current, it is uh, ascending order we got. Okay, so this is how X query is useful. It is very big topic team, and if you want to explore you can play around it. Okay, it will be very helpful when you are validating your response. So in a different way you can write xquery, xpaths, and you can verify. Questions team? uh, Kushal, I'm not sure if you are not able to see screen, but we can see screen. Okay, means I don't see any other person is saying they cannot see screen. Okay, so team, questions. So okay, all right, Kusal. Team, that's what I plan to cover today. Okay, in assertions part. So let me know if you have any question so we can discuss. Team, do we have any questions? Okay, meanwhile you can think, and so let me explain what we will do from the next session onwards. Okay, uh, there are few important thing. One we discussed today, that is uh, assertions, and another important topic is property and property transfer. Okay, This is a very important topic, and we'll start fresh in the next class, in next session. So we'll see how we can create custom properties, how you can transfer properties, how you can utilize properties of at different levels like project, test case, test step levels. So those things we'll see in next session. Okay. All right. Let me check. Kushal has one question. SOAP UI connected with Eclipse? Yes, you can connect. Okay. So there is plugin for there is SOAP UI plugin for Eclipse. Okay, and you can plug in into Eclipse, and you will get the same kind of UI there also. If you want to do that, okay. So you can go ahead and add plug in your Eclipse, and you can play it around. Another way to a better way to do that is if you want to do some coding and programming. What you can do is uh, let me go to this one and program files, and okay, so this is where your SOAP UI is installed, and if you want to use APIs of this SOAP UI, copy all this file of uh, from the library. Okay, under SOAP UI there is library, and let me see. Okay, so all these things you can include jar files in your Eclipse. Okay, here so if you want to utilize this SOAP UI APIs features, so you can include all those jar files in your Eclipse, and you can automate whatever uh, things you want to do with SOAP UI. So that is another way of doing with Eclipse. Kushal, I was telling for your query, but there is a plugin, UI plugin you will get when you include that. All right, team. Any other question before we adjourn this session? Okay. So I don't see any questions. So I hope whatever we discussed today, that is clear to you. And let's meet in next session, and there we'll discuss few other topics. So from the next session onwards, we'll talk about property transfer, and then we'll talk about Groovy scripting part. Okay, so team, for your information, Groovy is uh, a language which you can use with the SOAP UI. Okay, so you can do everything through scripting. Okay, you don't need to add all these manual things. You can, so if I right click on this on test steps, so how we can add test steps, team? Right click on your this test step, and it says add step. So in add steps you get a lot of things to add: SOAP request, REST request, JDBC properties. We'll see these properties, property transfer in coming sessions. And then this is also very important, Groovy script. So you can write your own code in Groovy, and you can add as a test step. So this will be very important when we will cover how we can read Excel, how we can fetch data from Excel and put in this SOAP UI tool. Those things we'll see through Groovy script. We can also create a framework, okay, a data-driven framework we can create. So we'll see how we can create a data-driven framework using Groovy script and SOAP UI. Then you can add a SOAP mock response. A lot of things you can add as your test steps. All right. So from the next session onwards, we'll add some of these test steps, and we'll see how we can go further from there. All right. So can you please upload the videos? It's been daily uploaded on our website. So if you go to IIT Learn and in online courses or current batches, if you go, so it will be there. So on daily basis, team is uploading uh, videos. So thank you everyone. I don't see any other question. Thank you so much for joining this session, and let's meet on next session and we'll discuss further. Okay. Thank you everyone. Thank you for now. Thank you. Bye for now, and we'll see you in next session. Bye.